Now, it could be the next major revolution in the workplace. In the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, workers are increasingly saying that they want a 4-day working week. And with trials taking place in European countries like Portugal, the idea is gaining momentum among employers too. Well, the president of Germany's Ifo Institute for Economic Affairs has spoken out against the 4-day week. Clemens Fuest joins me now. Thanks a lot for being with us. So this idea appears to be gaining supporters. Why aren't you among them?
I think that we already have a situation where people can work 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days a week. I think there is no need for a general regulation. On top of that, we are living in times where increasingly companies and public administrations have difficulty finding people. So if we encourage people to work even less, we will have problems. For instance, if we think about hospitals, they already have problems finding enough nurses and employees generally, and this would be made worse by a 4-day week.
But isn't the idea that this would actually make jobs more attractive if people can work just 4 days instead of 5 for the same amount of pay?
Yes, I mean, today people can work 4 days. It's just not the same amount of pay.
They get paid less.
If we leave the pay, yes, I mean, if we leave give the pay of a 5-day week for a 4-day week, that's an increase in hourly wages of 25%. The question is, who will pay for that? The productivity may increase a little, but certainly not by 25%. So the question is, who will cover the cost? That's not easy. And still, even if people do find a 4-day week attractive, I don't think the amount of people willing to work will increase by enough to compensate for the loss of the 1 day. So I think there's no way.
But the trials have suggested, the trials that there have been into this, and there have been some trials. We've just been hearing about a trial in Portugal. It's been tried in the UK, but in the US as well. They found that the companies taking part have really found this to be a positive thing, and over 90% of them, in the case of the UK study, said that they were going to keep up the 4-day week and that they didn't see this drop in productivity.
I think it's perfectly fine if individual companies do that, but it's certainly not something to be generalized. If we think of services like the health service, the police, it's simply necessary that people are around for some time, and increasing the workforce by enough to maintain those services 24/7 will just not be possible. So I don't think this can be generalized. I mean, working life is flexible already. So companies who think, yes, it's better to have people working 4 days a week, that's fine. But it shouldn't be something that is regulated generally.
You perhaps realise that you're moving against the fashion at the moment. This is something that is picking up momentum. So why do you feel you need to speak out on this? Because we don't always hear from you on every issue.
I think it's important to explain really what the consequences of this are. I think full wage compensation is unrealistic. And if people work less, one implication is also because we finance the pension system, the health system on the basis of labor income mostly. If people work less and earn less, they will also pay less tax, and this will undermine the finances of the welfare state entirely. So working less at times where there are fewer and fewer people in the workforce anyway, simply doesn't work for a number of reasons. I think we need to encourage people to work more. In the end, it's an individual decision, but what we need is rather encouragement for working more. We don't need to encourage people to work less.
I think that's something that people will find quite a bleak idea, that people should be pushed to work more, people who are already exhausted. I mean, how do you go about persuading people that that's a good thing?
No, I'm not saying pushing people. I think encouraging people and giving incentives also. Yes, I mean, where there is scarcity of workers, we need to pay them more. But encouraging them to work less will simply make shortages in public services less, and that's not the way to go.
One of the objectives is to improve work-life balance. If you can't do that by working fewer days and having more days, at home, How else do you go about doing that? Because it's clearly something that people are crying out for.
Yes, I mean, if people really want to work less, they need to accept that we also produce less. And I think that's fine. The only issue is that if we do so, people depending on tax revenues, like pensioners, will also move to a 4-day income, because we just don't have the tax revenue anymore to maintain these services. We need to take that into account. In the end, working time is an individual decision. If people feel exhausted, if they decide to consume less, have lower incomes, and work less, that's an individual decision, and that's perfectly fine in a free society.
Well, it's not an individual decision if people have got to decide whether or not they have enough money or they are exhausted, is it?
Correct, but I mean, there's little we can do about that. It's part of life that if we want to have higher income as an economy as a whole, I think that's pretty clear. If we want to consume more, if we want to have higher income, we need to work more. If we decide to work less, that's fine. But then we, as an economy, also have lower incomes. That's inevitable.
Okay, Clemens Fuest, president of the Ifo Institute. It's been really interesting hearing your point of view on this. Thank you.
Thank you.